Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving our glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Hakwadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful elect that's out there listening, learning, and or teaching. Shalom to you all. All right, so today I want to go into, that scripture that talks about how Gad was overcome, okay? Because today is the day that the world calls Thanksgiving. And contrary to popular belief, it is not a celebration of harvest or, Native Americans and so-called white people shaking hands and holding hands. That's not what it's about, man. All right? Thanksgiving is the celebration of the destruction of the Native Americans, man. All right? And I'm going to type that into the Google search bar. I actually have it typed in here. And the AI overview says, for many Native Americans, Thanksgiving is a day of mourning, not celebration, because it commemorates the arrival of European settlers and the subsequent centuries of oppression, genocide, and displacement that followed. It serves as a reminder of the loss of land, culture, and lives, and is marked as a national day of mourning in protest of the historical and ongoing racism and oppression they face. Okay, yeah, because, that's what these devils are doing by celebrating this Thanksgiving, man. All right, and and it's not a coincidence that near the same time of Thanksgiving, you have Black Friday, right, which is the next day. And basically, Black Friday, the origins of that is when they used to sell the so-called Negro slaves at a discount on Black Friday, man. Showing you these devils are basically celebrating our downfall, okay? And, that's what this holiday is about. And the word holiday goes back to holy day, all right? And if you go into the scriptures, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, gives us the different high holy days that we're supposed to celebrate as a nation, right? The nation of Israel being you so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans. These are our holy days or holidays that the Lord has given us, all right? And in this entire chapter, there is no mention of Thanksgiving because that is a so-called white man's holiday, all right? So going into Leviticus 23:1, it says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, right? Because there's usually a feast on these different high holy days, all right? Sometimes there's a feast, all right? Just like you see with these pagan holidays, you got Thanksgiving, there's a feast, Christmas, there's a feast, and none of those holidays are supposed to be celebrated, man. All right. It continues, and I'm going to read it again, actually. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. Okay, and it goes into it. It starts with the Sabbath day, right? And then it keeps going all the way down. You got the Feast of Tabernacles, you got the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You got Hanukkah, you got different types of feasts throughout the scriptures that are mentioned. Hanukkah is mentioned in the book of the Maccabees, right? Which that came later. But anyway, with that being said, man, basically, I just want to go into the scriptures through the Spirit and just just go from there, basically. So I'm gonna just start in Psalms 55:20. It says, he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. And this is what happened with the Native American Indians here in America. All right, the same thing happened with the so-called Mexicans and the so-called Seminole Indians. 3 tribes who were taken over and conquered by the so-called white man. All right, three groups of people, which really were all the same people, were Israelites. We didn't do anything to this devil. We were at peace with him. We allowed him to come over here. We allowed him to live in our land and taught him how to live here and, gave him food, gave him shelter. All right. What did he do? He turned around and enslaved our people. You see, this man's the devil. It continues. He hath broken his covenant, right? You could think about all the treaties that the Native American Indians signed with the so-called white man, okay? And how many of those treaties the so-called white man broke, all right? And a great scripture that comes to mind is Sirach 12:10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? You know, as a cast iron pan rusts, so the so-called white man is going to eventually show his horns, man. So we're not to be trusting this devil. Verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, right? You know, I'm sure he made that contract and those treaties sound very nice, very pleasant to the ears, man. All right, just like he does today with his different draconian measures that he puts forth. There's always an excuse, and it's always for your safety or for your betterment, so he says. But at the end of the day, it's really to fuck you over, man. All right? It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. That's right, war was in his heart, man, and that's why I got these depictions pulled up. You can see on the left side of the screen the different atrocities the so-called white man did to our people. All types of different torture methods were, applied to the Native American Indians. They would hang up 13 natives at a time and set their feet on fire. It was a form of torture so they wouldn't die right away. Okay, and then also they barbecued our people alive and ate them. That's a whole nother history I'm learning about. Okay, they cut off our hands, different body parts, raped our women. They had their way. You see, war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. That's right, man. And the so-called white man has a habit of killing people through the stroke of his pen. All right, I made a video about that Campbell's chicken noodle soup yesterday. So you can see, man, you can't even buy soup at the store without getting poisoned. This devil's causing people to die young. Then they got to go to him for let me say the right word, for pills. Because when you drink these, when you get sick, when you get an illness, you want to feel better. What do? You go to Esau, and then he slips these pills down your throat, tells you it's good for you. Then you end up giving up the ghost. A lot of these older people out here in Babylon, they're on 10 different pills, man. All fucked up, don't know where they are, who they are, where they're at, what they're doing half the time. This man's the devil, man. This man, his ways are as death, like the scriptures say, man. All right, let's get Habakkuk chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up in him, Salakia, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. That's right, the so-called white man's soul is not upright, but the just shall live by his faith, right? Us so-called Negroes, Latino, Native Americans, all we got to hang on to is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, man, right? And those of us who are in the world, you Israelites in the world, you have nothing to hang on to, right? And some of you may have a zeal, but it's not according to knowledge, right? Most of you are out here living with no future and no hope, right? Unlike these so-called white people who are lifted up. They live in these great neighborhoods, making great money. They have inheritances. They have privilege. They could easily get a job just for the way they look, the color they skin, right? But like it says, the just shall live by his faith, man. This is oppression. We're living in a terrible place. We're living in hell. This is our hell and Esau's heaven. Okay, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. That's right. He transgresses through these different philosophies that he pushes. All right, all these different lies. Thanksgiving being a great big lie, acting like, oh, this is a time for all people to come together and be happy. We're all holding hands. It's not, man. It's the destruction of the children of Israel. All right. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. That's why he's going to war with all these other countries, right? These Israelis over there going to war, they're so-called white people as well. Just like the so-called white people here that back them, right? The so-called white people here in America that back these Israelis over there. Okay, they're all going to war with these other countries. They can't stay in their fucking place. All right, and the Native Americans, what happened to them is another example of that. It continues, who enlargeth his desire as hell. That's right, man. The Native Americans, when they were here, they were content. They didn't have to go around fucking working themselves to death, gathering all these riches just to hoard them from everybody. That's the so-called white man's, vision of a good life. You see, and he is never fucking satisfied. Like it says here, who enlarges his desire is hell. Hell is the grave. You notice how, the grave is never satisfied. You can always keep burying bodies. Okay, this is the way the so-called white man is. He's as hell. All right, continues. And is as death, right? This man's ways are the ways of death. You see how he treats the every form of life on earth, the slaughterhouses with these animals, torturing animals. Okay, the way he treated our people, torturing our people, right? The way he even treats his own people. He's got his own people working 3 jobs to make rent. You see, this whole society is not conducive to life, man. It's not conducive to life. This man is the devil. This man is epitome of wickedness on the earth. It continues, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. That's right, man. This devil's not going to stop until he has enslaved every person on the planet Earth. Okay, and that's the goal of the New World Order, is to put a chip on everybody in order to force them to adhere to his slavery, which is going to be a mental, spiritual, and physical slavery. Not only are you going to be forced to work, like when you think of slavery, you think of hardcore bondage, like what happened with the natives and the so-called blacks. Okay, well, it's going to be the same thing with the chip, but they're going to also want to enslave your mind. They're going to want to enslave everything about you, for lack of a better word. You're not going to be able to think your own original ideas and express them, right? Freedom of speech, that's going to be a thing of the past, okay? And Elon Musk was even talking about having Neuralink in your brain to where, it could read your thoughts and share your thoughts automatically with groups of people that are connected via chip. Okay, so you can imagine if they could read your thoughts, you're going to get punished for certain thoughts, because this devil, he doesn't fucking stop, man. Until he can control every aspect of your life, until he can control when you get to breathe in and when you get to breathe out, he will not be satisfied, man. All right? But yeah, man, this is nothing to celebrate, man. We're in the house of mourning. This devil's in rulership. He destroyed our people. He continues to run this earth into the ground. This day is a day to think about how much of a piece of shit Esau, Edom, the so-called white man is. Not a day to celebrate. All right, this is Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city, right? Which woe means destruction. It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. That's right. They stole this land through lies and robbery. All right, and genocide. Okay, it says the prey departed not, because we stuck here. We stuck here working forever. All right, until the Lord delivers us. Verse 2, the noise of a whip and the noise of rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots. That's going into, the slavery, right? The noise of the whip, right? And it talks about, noise of the rattling of the wheels and the prancing horses, the jumping chariots, going into this economy, this hustling and bustling, this constant grinding that we got to go through here in modern America as well. Verse 3, the horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. Yeah, that's the punishment that's going to happen here in America. That's the reason the Lord has to destroy this place via thermonuclear fire because of all the robbery, rape, murder, lies, stealing of the land from the Native American Indians. Okay, all these things must be punished. The scriptures say, there's a precept to that I want to grab real quick. It says because of injuries. Let's grab it real quick. Let's get it real quick. This is Sirach 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, right? That's the breaking of the treaties. Injuries and riches got by deceit. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay, so right now the so-called white man has the kingdom. He has the world. He has this empire. But soon hereafter it's going to be translated to the Israelites because it was gotten by deceit. It was gotten by wickedness, man. The so-called white man has never earned anything that he's gotten. Everything's been stolen or hijacked from another people. All right, and so the Lord is going to punish them. There's going to be a lot of dead bodies on the day of the Lord, man, because it's the day of his anger. And those of you out there, talking smack about how we're so angry, just know that the Lord, the God of the Bible, is more angry than we are. The Lord has been ready to fuck these nations up, man. And not just Esau, all these other heathen that were helping Esau as well. They're not guilty either. Or Salakia, they're fucking guilty, but they're not innocent either, is what I meant to say. Verse 4. Let's go back to Nahum 3 and verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. America is the well-favored harlot. The mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. That's right. This place is nothing but witchcrafts. Okay, they be putting aborted fetal tissue in all your food. That's to cast spells on you people, man. All right, their media is a bunch of witchcraft and fakery. Okay, they got their witches and warlocks out here casting spells. They even did that shit on TV. A while back I brought that out. They're putting up these different enchantments to keep their power, but eventually it's all futile because the Lord is going to utterly destroy America off the face of the earth forever, man. Okay, and everyone that's fought against us is going to be destroyed. All right, this is Genesis 49 and 19. Gad, who is Gad? That is the Native American Indians today. That's the tribe of Gad. A troop shall overcome him. Right? That's what we see on the left side of the screen. The time when they came against us and defeated us. Okay, but it continues. But he shall overcome at the last. And that's what you see on the right side of the screen, man. A vision for what's going to happen when Yahushua returns. All right, we're going to have the thermonuclear destruction of America. The Lord is going to raise up his elect with spiritual powers. All right, we're going to watch the fireworks, and then we're going to come back down out of the chariots, and we're going to take the whole world, man. We're going to take the kingdom, like the scriptures say, and we'll finish on that through the Spirit. That's what we're looking forward to. Fuck Thanksgiving, and fuck everybody that celebrates that shit, man. Fuck that mindset. All right? This is Daniel's chapter 7 and verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. Right? So we're going to take it by force, man. The Lord's going to give us power, and we're going to fuck these nations up. And we're going to snatch this rulership out of their hands, man. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. All right, and that's literal, because it says even forever and ever, man. So that's what we got to look forward to, man. All right, not some bitch ass holiday where we eating turkey and everybody's acting like they're all buddy buddy, man. Fuck these heathens, fuck these Edomites, and fuck your punk ass holidays, Esau. Straight up, And I want to grab another one real quick. For those people that think that the Lord is all about love and forgiveness. There's a time to love and a time to forgive, man. And these devils are not going to get it. All right, love and forgiveness is for the nation of Israel. All right, not for no heathens. The Lord doesn't even give a fuck about these heathens, man. The scriptures talk about how the abundance of them is like a drop of water falling out of a bucket. Right? Those are the people who had us in slavery, the people that actually matter. And our people are all feeling bad. And I understand Israel, we're a compassionate people, man, but you also gotta use wisdom. You can't just be all lovey-dovey compassionate and not have any reason, not have a brain between your ears. All right? This is Proverbs 11, verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. And that's what salvation is all about. Deliverance out of this hell. Right? Like the scriptures say that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. That's the mercy and the of salvation. That's the good news, that we're going to be saved from our enemies, man. These Edomites don't need saving. Right, you look at these high-level elite bankers, man, they have mansions on top of mansions on top of mansions. They pretty much own the world. They get to print money whenever they want. What do they need saving from? They're good. They're chilling. We're the one who needs salvation. Over here working 3 jobs and don't know if we're gonna survive to see the age of 40, man. And if you're older, you don't know when. Even if you're younger, you could die any day, man. You could walk out the street and get mugged, get shot up, get robbed. You could catch an illness out of nowhere. Look how many young people died during C-19, man. Right? Which, whether it was man-made or not, either way, whatever. The point being, this kingdom is this is hell. And so, we often preach in the highways and byways telling our people, come out of this place. All right, there's nothing here for us. Don't make your bed here in America. You got to come out of this place spiritually, hastening the coming of the day of the Lord, man, because that's truly the only time we ever get to live is when we're in rulership under Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right, so with that, I want to finish by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. Shalom wa bad babal. Shalom.